All right. So this is Bowens Data Solutions Company. I am Derek Bowens. If you'd like to check out the site, it is bowensdatasolutions.com. You can always book a free discovery call if you want me to go through your data later on and figure out how we can make you some more money. So that is what this is going to be on. That's what this is always going to be about, is making businesses more money. So, and each one of these, what I like to do is I like to talk about the services that we offer and why we offer those services. This one is called Fill the Room. What it actually wants to cover is the operational efficiency of whatever service you're providing. This goes into what we call it. I call it the Fill the Room to make it kind of easy. What it does basically is it works on capacity filling. So who this could apply to is salons, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, gyms, barbershops. Basically anybody that is providing a service and is looking at the assets value behind it, right? So where I got this case study from, or where I decided I built a case study from Spirit Closing, and I found that interesting because I wanted to look at what was Frontier going to do, because they're in the same sort of space and business strategy, right? Very similar company, low cost air carrier, right? So what we actually looked at was how they were using their service, the lines of service, and their assets, which are the planes. And what I was looking at is how many flights they were doing to be able to make their revenue, because they were making billions of dollars, but they were flying basically one more or one and a half more flights for each plane in order to make that money. So this was because they actually had a lower occupancy rate than they would need to be able to make the amount of cash they normally would with less flights. Right, so they really only needed about 2.5 flights to be able to make their money, and they were doing about 4. So it's almost double. And why that was is because they had a lack of passengers on the flights. So the way to fix that basically was to look and find where the client, where Spirit's clients no longer had services, and then they could go there, which you could say duh, but it does take a little bit of research, one, to identify that they needed to do this, and two, to find the airports that they could be servicing to make that happen. Right. So that was our fix, was just to identify some better airport hubs. I identified 3 of these. They happen to be Fort Lauderdale, from Miami, I think Detroit, and then Chicago Midway, I guess was the other one, if I remember correctly. Who this really applies to, like I said, was gyms. I did a small one real quick. We could look at LA Fitness, the classes, and what people are attending, and then we could figure out different hours or better services for those people, right? We could also go with the bar. You could figure out the value per the seat, or you could talk about with nightclubs. What I was talking about was the section, so the value of each section, and whether or not you want to keep the section in that space due to it either A, doing well, or B, not doing well. So you could have 10 sections, and let's say 2 of them in the corner do absolutely nothing. They rarely ever make any money, and in reality, if you let those go, you would have another maybe 30 to 40 people that could be in the building. Those 30 to 40 people drinking even 2 drinks each, with drinks costing $15, ends up being like $1,200, right? So you'd end up making the same amount of money with 2 less sections. And you might have people that will be happier, and you can end up inevitably rising the price of the sections because you now have 2 less. The next thing we want to talk about was restaurants. You can do this off of menu based. So what you're looking at is like the ingredients. This gets you into like the shop order form. How often are people even buying those items? And then what you really could look at, what we really want to get down to, is what are the best ticket items, and that comes down to how long does it take to make them, how many can be producible in that time, right? So that's like even if, let's say, it takes 5 minutes to make I don't know, whatever on the grill, you know. If it takes up too much space on the grill, then it's not really a moneymaker for you, because you can only make one of them in that 5 minutes, where maybe you can make three of something else in 7 minutes, and that turns out to be more in value. So there's a calculus equation, and there's also like an algebraic equation in there when you're figuring out time. And then we can also factor in the margin that goes into that, and then we can get into the ingredients that get used for it. Right? And then we can get into the waste, or the amount of ingredient lost, due to this, which gets you into fixing the shop order, which could lessen up the amount of money that you're ending up spending due to this. Right? So again, that's to identify your best ticket item, and then we can star that, I guess. And once you know the best ticket item, then we can understand who are we even really trying to sell to. Because that's what that gets into after that. So this is just like a quick down and dirty one about why we do fill the room. That is what these lives are basically always going to be about, is how we use the services, why we use that service, and how that service could inevitably end up helping you. Now, I didn't really put a lot of dollar figures to this one as I did the last one, just because it could be very, really hard. And on top of that, I did not feel like putting together a bunch of data for it, but you can, if you like, check out the Signal to Capital Substat, where I do talk about this very thing for Frontier. And if I don't have it up there right now, I will publish it later. So thank you guys for your time. This was very short live, about 7.5 minutes. And if you have any questions, feel free to check out bowensdatasolutions.com, where you can book a free discovery call with me to find out